Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're diving into something truly fascinating. We're going to decode some of the most profound ancient Sanskrit frameworks out there and see exactly how they're being used to solve a very modern crisis. I'm talking about our collective cognitive decay. Thousands of years ago, scholars didn't just map out the psychology of a restless mind, they actually developed rigorous neurobiological and botanical tools to literally upgrade the human brain. So if you've ever felt like your attention span is, well, shrinking, or maybe your memory just isn't quite what it used to be, you are definitely going to want to stick around for this.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the inevitable versus the remedy and how grief ties into that. Then, taming the restless mind, followed by the Sanskrit brain effect. Finally, we'll cover botanical remedies for memory and tie the whole thing together with ancient wisdom from modern life.
Section 1. The inevitable versus the remedy.
So, our entire foundation today rests on these two ancient Sanskrit terms. On one hand, we have Aparihārya, which basically translates to the inevitable. It's the stuff that simply cannot be avoided or bypassed. But on the other hand, we have its exact opposite, Parihara, meaning the remedy or mitigation. And the wisdom here is intensely practical, right? Cognitive clarity actually begins with this ruthless ability to distinguish what we absolutely must accept from what we must take active, intentional action to fix.
Moving to Section 2, Grief and the Inevitable.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. If we look at the Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 2, verse 27, the text uses the word Aparihārya. It commands, "You should not therefore grieve over the inevitable." You see, when facing the death of the physical body, which, let's face it, is entirely certain for all of us, grieving is framed not just as a sad thing, but as a massive energetic waste. The whole goal here is to stop hemorrhaging your mental energy on Aparihārya, the inevitable, so you can fiercely preserve your cognitive resources for the things you can actually change.
Section 3. Taming the Restless Mind.
Now look at this sharp contrast here. Over on the left, we've got the inevitable physical realities we just talked about. But on the right, we have the remediable targets, things like a restless mind, memory decay, a lack of focus. The ancients didn't just tell people to accept their fate and give up. No way. They demanded active psychological and biological action against cognitive decline. Your distracted mind is not inevitable. It is highly, highly remediable.
But let's be honest with ourselves. It is really not easy. As Arjuna complains in chapter 6, verse 34, the mind is very unsteady. I consider it as difficult to control as the wind. So it turns out being relentlessly distracted isn't just a modern smartphone problem. It's actually a millennia-old human condition. Human brains have always been turbulent, tenacious, and incredibly difficult to rein in. So what's the fix? Krishna provides a specific, actionable Parihara, a real remedy for the mind. First up is repeated practice, which is often translated as meditation or just disciplined focus. And second is the exercise of dispassion. Now this means systematically detaching yourself from the endless sensory inputs that are constantly vying for your attention. It's a very clear step-by-step approach to taking the reins of your own brain back.
All right, Section 4, the Sanskrit brain effect.
Now what's really interesting about this slide is this massive number right here, 100,000. Professionally qualified Vedic pundits traditionally memorize up to 100,000 words. And we're not just talking about casual memorization. They have to perfectly preserve the exact acoustic vibrations, known as shabda, of the sacred texts. Because oral transmission lacked written records back then, any minor deviation, I mean literally just a slightly wrong pronunciation or syllable order, completely nullified the mantra. Doing this required an absolutely staggering level of mental practice and focus.
To see how this translates into modern science, cognitive neuroscientist Dr. James Hartzell actually put 21 of these Vedic Sanskrit scholars into MRI machines, and the scans were mind-blowing. They revealed a substantial enlargement of the right hippocampus, which is the brain's center for memory consolidation. They also found significantly greater gray matter volume overall and immensely strengthened neural circuits for long-term recall. So what does this all mean? It proves that rigorous, repeated mental discipline physically upgrades your hardware. The ancient remedy isn't just some poetic metaphor, it actively, physically alters the architecture of the brain.
Section 5, botanical remedies for memory. But here's the thing, mental practice was really only one half of the equation. Ancient scholars also turned to biology and pharmacology to support these massive cognitive loads. Classical Ayurveda didn't just view memory as one single monolithic thing. They broke cognition down into 3 interdependent dimensions. Step 1 is dihi, which is acquiring and processing new info. Step 2 is Dhrithi, holding onto it and preventing the mind from just scattering. And Step 3 is Smriti, actually retrieving that stored memory at will. To achieve peak mental performance, all 3 of these steps have to function together perfectly. And to ensure those 3 steps functioned perfectly, they utilized specific high-potency botanicals known as media rasayanas. Notice how precisely they're targeted in this table. Bacopa manieri, or Brahmi, specifically targets smriti and dhriti, which enhances your long-term memory. Centella asiatica targets didi, slowing down age-related memory decline. And Celestris panicula literally reverses spatial memory deficits. So the ancients weren't just guessing out in the woods, they had a highly sophisticated, biologically targeted pharmacological system acting as a Parihara, a remedy for cognitive decay. And they were intensely disciplined about exactly how they administered these remedies. The Vatapika method is meant for normal, active daily life, but the Kuti-Praveshika method, that one is astonishing. It involves intensive, indoor seclusion in a pitch-black chamber for weeks. By completely eliminating all sensory distractions, they basically force the nervous system to calm down, allowing these cognitive herbs to work at their absolute peak efficacy. Talk about the ultimate exercise in dispassion and focus.
Finally, Section 6, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Life. So, the core takeaway from all of this is pretty clear. Accept the inevitable. Actively train and protect the remediable mind. We have to stop wasting our precious mental energy grieving the things we simply cannot change, the Aparihārya. Instead, we must apply Parihāraḥ. We have the tools today, both mental discipline and natural botanicals, to proactively train our brains, physically alter our neural networks, and protect our memories from decay. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. As Dr. Hartzell's research suggests, if these verbal memory trainings can fundamentally upgrade the physical architecture of the human brain, could these ancient mnemonic practices and botanical remedies be the ultimate untapped defense against modern cognitive diseases like Alzheimer's? The data definitely points to yes. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep those minds focused, and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you for staying till end. If you like this explainer, kindly like and share, and don't forget to subscribe Sanap Sanskrit Prawah.